A federal judge has knocked down Oklahoma's anti-Sharia clause that it added to its constitution in 2010. Yeah, a couple of years ago, they felt the need to add to their actual constitution, not just a law, the actual constitution, that Sharia law could not exist. And so, I'm talking about Chief District Judge Vicki miles-lagrange. She gave her explanation for why it needed to be struck down, basically saying that you can't have something that particularly singles out one religion in opposition. We've got Ryan Kiesel of the ACLU of Oklahoma saying, "This law unfairly singled out one faith and one faith only. This amendment was nothing more than a solution in search of a problem. We're thrilled that it has been struck down." That's mostly accurate. I do think that it was a solution to a particular problem. The problem just wasn't the creeping threat of Sharia in Oklahoma. The problem was that the Republicans and the conservatives who came up with this idea and try to push it in multiple states want to scare people. They want to ignite that xenophobia that's already raring to go in most conservatives in America. And they want to make you think, look, terrorism is a big problem, but not just terrorism. The Muslims are going to ruin the country in a whole bunch of different ways. They're taking over our legal system. Now, we know that that's bullshit. There's like 10 Muslims in America. Okay, that's an exaggeration. But even if there were 10 million, Sharia law is not going to take over the American legal system in the next 100 years. It's completely ignorant. It's completely insane. And even if it was going to happen, it's not going to happen in Oklahoma. If you try to think of a community that's known for being Muslim in America, maybe you think of like Dearborn, Michigan, that gets in the news every once in a while. There's nothing else really. So the idea that it could be taking over Oklahoma is obviously BS. This is just another shallow, see-through attempt to play up to or play into our natural predisposition towards xenophobia in this country. It's just another strike against Muslims, peaceful, peace-loving Muslims in America that have been demonized since 9/11. And so thankfully, the federal judge in this case, who has been trying to get this overturned for the past few years, was able to do so. Now, these sorts of anti-Sharia constitutional amendments do exist in other states, but I have a feeling that at some point, once the country has gotten back to its senses and stops thinking that there's a terrorist around every corner, maybe they can be stripped out of those states' constitutions as well. And what's really amazing about the entire attempt to get rid of Sharia law is when you actually look at what hardcore Muslims who actually believe that the state should be governed by Sharia, what they actually would want in practice, and what those who think that their literal view of the Bible should be enshrined in law in America, what they actually want is really not that dissimilar. Maybe in the Christian version there will be a little bit less chopping off of hands, I suppose, if we're comparing fundamentalists on both sides. But really, demonization of gays, demonization of subjugation of women, demonization of outsiders, a belief that only those who follow that religion should have all the rights that we would normally expect in a society they should have. Like, they love to fight each other, but there's really not that many differences. Worries about sex among the youth and everything, and at the same time trying to marry off the youths to people who are much older. We live in a crazy country where our brand of crazy, Christianity, is so normal, it's so fine. Obviously, we're a Christian nation, but Sharia law is the big threat that we need to deal with. So hopefully as a country we can move on from that eventually.